Hello and good evening. Good evening to everyone, all friends and folks. This is DuEwa Frazier with a new podcast episode. That's code. It is the weekend, baby. So, how was your Thanksgiving? I hope you had a nice holiday and that you are relaxing and resting probably from all the cooking, organizing, and running around and all of that. So you all know a lot of times I say my podcast is like 7 Central, 8 Eastern. So we know that means 7-ish, 8-ish, because I run around a lot, especially on the weekends trying to run errands and take care of business and do, different obligations and such. I'm sure you all understand. But I'm really thankful to be back and to discuss some culture topics with you all tonight. Hopefully, if anyone cares to chime in, you may. Or just, leave me a comment on the live or on the video when it's posted to YouTube. I'm at youtube.com/DuEwa World. That is my channel where I present my podcasts for the public, vlogs, podcasts, and I guess interviews and different culture topics. So that's something that I enjoy. Okay, so let's get into the topics of tonight. I do not want to keep you all long. So I want to start off with the High on the Hog series. It's so appropriate that the series the second season just came out this month, with it being, Thanksgiving, and we're heading into holiday, and we're thinking about gathering around food, home and hearth, and things of that nature. So I watched season 2 the other day. I had already seen season 1. And just to kind of give you an overview, so the series is on Netflix, and it's hosted and executive produced by food writer and chef Steven Satterfield, along with author and food historian, co-executive producer Jessica B. Harris. And in case you didn't know, and I know quite a lot of people I've been kind of chatting with online who've really been enjoying this series, High on the Hog. It's a perfect title. That whole phrase, it just speaks to the history in African American food, cuisine, connecting us all the way back to slavery, and how, basically there was only certain foods that slaves could eat, certain rations that were allowed or given to slaves in America. And so this series, it's so interesting how it traces from season 1 going to Africa and looking at the food in Africa and the customs, and how, that really translates to now what we do here in America. And so, okay, let me go back to season 2. So I'm specifically just speaking about season 2 because they just released season 2. So High on the Hog is in its second season, hosted by chef and food writer Steven Satterfield. And Steven travels in season 2 to various U.S. cities to trace the origins of African-American cuisine. And I'm so thankful he calls it cuisine, because it lets you know, hey, this is a whole food culture and a way of cooking and a way of baking that has binded us as a community and as a culture. And this food is sharing out to the world and to other communities. So yes, it is a cuisine. It is worthy of the Bon Appetit features and the New York Times reviews and all of that. And one of the things that I really love about this series is that the dialogue and discussion that the host, Steven Satterfield, has with the various food activists and chefs and cooks and bakers of African American cultural background, they discuss how over time, African American cuisine, or quote unquote Black soul food, wasn't always seen as being worthy of the being included in the food awards and the various cooking awards and the various media coverage and all of that. But that's really changing. And so one of the things I want to mention is that, okay, so the episodes for season 2 are, episode 1 is titled Food for Journey, and Steven Satterfield travels to New Orleans and Chicago, and he's interviewing these good folks that are in those areas, really famed restaurateurs and chefs who've really carved out a space for themselves as promoters and continual food activists in African American cuisine. And so then he heads to New York City and the quote unquote Black Mecca of Harlem. And Stephen interviews and sits down and breaks bread and has dinner with everyone from Alelia Bundles, who is a descendant of the first Black woman millionaire, Madam C.J. Walker. And also he interviews and sits down with Chef Charles Gabriel. And so, again, if you're just joining me, hey, folks, it's DuEwa Frazier on a new episode of my That's Code podcast discussing culture topics. And I'm talking about the High on the Hog food series, or rather High on the Hog series about African American cuisine that is now featured on Netflix. Okay. So episode 3, Stephen, the host, heads to Atlanta, and he makes some very important and crucial connections as Atlanta being that base of like the civil rights movement, one of our very important bases of the civil rights movement here in the United States, and connecting that region to African American cuisine and historically how food played a part in African American pursuits of freedom, justice, and equality. Everything from the sit-ins at the diners to how Black folks were cooking and baking to sell food items that would fund the civil rights movement, that would fund various needs and causes in the Black community to better the community and to improve quality and way of life. And so I thought that was just marvelous to show us that history and how, hey, food, African American cuisine has always been a part of every movement in American history as far as Black African American cuisine and how it played a part in the unifying and the movement for civil rights. So then after his stay in Atlanta, he travels and goes to the Bay Area, and he's interviewing food activists and really wonderful Black chefs and Black folks that are creating community through hosting supper clubs where Black and brown people are welcome to come and eat and break bread and, you know, have a farm to table experience. And that's episode 4. Connecting the legacy of the Black Panthers breakfast program. And if you remember that back many years ago in the 60s when the Black Panthers were starting this breakfast program to really fill the gap for children in the Black community that did not have the access to certain food and nutrition that was so needed for health and wellness. And one of the people that Steven Satterfield interviewed is someone who's my favorite. I've been following him for a long time, and that's chef and food activist Bryant Terry. I'm sorry if you're seeing this and the book is backwards. It's only because of how, you know, the camera is. But this is Afro Vegan, and it's Bryant Terry's beautiful cookbook where, you know, much of the recipes in this book, I mean, it's very rich ingredients and spices and recipes that are very well linked to African American culture and how we came to be from Africa to America, and of course in the Caribbean. So just showing you, like, here's a tofu curry with mustard greens recipe, and this is in Afro Vegan. Beautiful photos. Let me show you another one that I really like. that has some wonderful ingredients. And all right, let's go with the grilled corn on the cob. Look at those seasonings. Bryant Terry is just so amazing. And he, again, I'm mentioning him because he's featured on this new series, High on the Hog, season 2 on Netflix. And he's featured as a Black chef, a food activist, and someone who has been tracing the history of our African-American cuisine. And so according to Bon Appetit and their website, they've done a review of the series High on the Hog season 2. And Bon Appetit says nearly 3 years later, High on the Hog has returned for a second season with a new batch of 4 episodes that started airing on November 22nd. The season picks up immediately where the first one ends, highlighting the role that food played in the Reconstruction era, the Great Migration of African Americans from the South into Chicago and New York, and the Civil Rights era, which I mentioned. Food writer, journalist Stephen Satterfield returns as the series host and narrator, accompanied by his friend and mentor, Dr. Jessica B. Harris, who wrote the eponymous book the show is based on, titled High on the Hog. And so if any of you all are interested in checking out High on the Hog, definitely get your Netflix or, re-up your Netflix subscription. I'm not a representative of Netflix. However, hey, they're showing some good content that's promoting, African-American cuisine and culture and some really positive things. And also you can check out Jessica B. Harris's book, High on the Hog, on Amazon.com. It might make a really great, holiday gift for someone for your own reference. And so that's High on the Hog. All right, so that's my first topic done. Now I want to go to another feature, a film that is also on Netflix right now, and it's titled Rustin. I was talking about this online this week, and it's really the story of quite an amazing person, I would say, just based on his life story and what, he went through and what he contributed to the civil rights movement. So Rustin is the story of civil rights activist Bayard Rustin, who faces racism and homophobia as he plays a key role in helping to organize the 1963 March on Washington. So of course you know that this was during the era of our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of the various activities and efforts to really bring together and unify toward the effort of, ending discrimination, ending segregation, ending just a lot of the terrible things that were going on during that time, and that was really impacting the Black community. And so Bayard Rustin was born in 1912. He did pass in 1987, according to the National Museum of African American History and Culture's website. Rustin was a key organizer, as I mentioned, for the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. And he was one of Dr. King's closest advisors. And you see that when you watch the film, just how the camaraderie that they had, how Rustin would spend time with Dr. King and his family. Rustin knew Dr. King's wife, Coretta Scott King, and his children. And Rustin was also very influential in the whole technique for the nonviolent resistance within the civil rights movement. He was extremely active in the Congress of Racial Equality Corps and helped to create the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, which many of you I'm sure have heard of. And so according again to his bio on the National Museum of African American History and Culture's website, early in Rustin's career, he was arrested for moral cause, which led to his outing to the public. However, once outed, Rustin was completely open about his sexuality and was not ashamed. Criticism and discrimination over his sexuality led Rustin to have more of a quote unquote background role in the civil rights movement. And so the story is very riveting. You see what this man went through, but what he contributed a great deal. He had a lot of passion and motivation for organizing. He had leadership skills that people wanted. His talents and skills in organizing and facilitating mass efforts in the civil rights movement. While we may not have heard of a lot of his contributions to date, it's clear that when you watch the film, you see just what a key figure he was and how many people in the civil rights movement really valued him, especially Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which I mentioned. And so just to let you know about the stellar cast of Rustin. And again, if you're just joining me, this is DuEwa Frazier, and I'm on a new episode, my podcast, That's Code, where I discuss culture topics particularly. And right now I'm talking about the film Rustin on Netflix. The film has a stellar cast. I really enjoyed the acting and watching some of our, I would say, very classically trained Black actors who we know from various roles on TV and film. Some of the actors who have parts, who play major parts rather in this film include Emil Amin, who plays Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Glenn Turman, who I'm sure you remember him as the colonel on the long-running series A Different World. Glenn Turman plays A. Philip Randolph. You have comedian actor Chris Rock, who's playing Roy Wilkins. You have CCH Pounder, who you know from various TV roles, theater and film. She plays Dr. Anna Hedgeman. You have award-winning actress, Broadway actress, film actress, Audra McDonald playing Ella Baker. You have Jeffrey Wright playing Representative Adam Clayton Powell, and many, many others. I will not be surprised if this film does receive various honors and awards in this next year, because the acting is very, very good. And it's just such a riveting story. So if you get a chance to check out Rustin, again, it's going to tell you things about the civil rights movement and key players and the part that the activist Bayard Rustin played in the civil rights movement, which you may not, have heard about until now. Okay. So that is topic 2 down. All right, so now let's get into some other topics here that I want to talk about real briefly. You know what? I want to shout out to my alma mater, Hampton University's band directors, HU Band, the Force director, Dr. Thomas. I want to say Dr. Thomas Jones and his or assistant directors who featured at the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving. So shout out to the marching force and to their leadership, their band leaders who featured in the parade a few days ago. So just want to mention that, and that's on some HBCU news. Got a little tongue twisted. So I want to give another shout out to HBCU news, and that's the Bayou Classic that took part earlier today in New Orleans. And that is this year was the historic 50th annual classic between Southern University, so that's the Southern University Jaguars, and Grambling State University in New Orleans, and Fantasia, a notable singer and actress, was their halftime performer earlier today. And of course, you all know Fantasia. She is starring in the forthcoming remake of the film The Color Purple, which will be released next month, I believe, if not on Christmas Day, that week of Christmas. So you all might want to check that out. And of course, you know that Fantasia is best known for her hit R&B songs, as well as for being a winner on American Idol and for being starring on Broadway in The Color Purple, the Broadway edition of The Color Purple. So congratulations to Fantasia for featuring at the Bayou Classic. So that was my tidbit on HBCU news this week. Okay, so now we want to go back, and I'm looking at my notes, y'all. I am a writer. So as you can see, I got to write things down. Here's one of my notebooks. All right, so I'm going down the list. Okay, so let's talk about Lauryn Hill. The good Miss Hill has, been in the news lately because she's been on her Miss Education of Lauryn Hill tour. And that's been a tour that a lot of people really wanted to support and see her in addition to seeing the Fugees, because it's like giving us that reunion, right? Because we knew Lauryn Hill as being a member of the Fugees back in the day, and then she kind of broke off to do her own thing and have her own album, which is the Miss Education of Lauryn Hill, that won so many awards and garnered her so much notoriety and success as an MC and a singer, as well as I believe she is executive producer on that album. Okay, so Miss Lauryn Hill has announced that she is postponing her tour. At least the final shows of her tour have been canceled, and she cited that, oh my, okay, well, someone just said they are sitting in her concert right now. Well, okay, well, good for you. So then let me check my sourcing here, because there was an announcement that she was postponing her tour due to, I believe, a strained voice, which I can totally understand. I mean, you've been on tour for weeks and months, and you've got to take care of your voice. Okay, well, according to People, this is just 3 days ago. Yes, in fact, she did say she needs to take time off. Says she is postponing remaining U.S. dates to 2024. Okay, so while there may be some current shows going on, I don't know. Shout out to you, Miss Nicole. Okay, got you. Okay, thank you for that tidbit. I appreciate that. Someone is saying they're sitting in a show right now. Well, I certainly hope you enjoy it. I really hope you have a great time. So according to People, she's quoted as she revealed the news alongside a video of her singing on stage. And she stated, "I'd like to start this off by saying how much I've enjoyed being on the road and how much I appreciate all of the fans who have come out to celebrate this incredible milestone anniversary and history-making reunion with us." And she went on to say, "As many of you may know, I've been battling serious vocal strain for the past month. And I made it through each show by taking prescribed, I probably don't want to read all of that. Anyway, she's discussing what she's gone through to kind of maintain herself, but that she needs to take time off to heal her voice and, I guess prepare for the next leg. Okay, thank you, Rashad. That's my good Hamptonian brother. Tonight's show will be her last, and then she'll go on hiatus. Well, thank you so much. Well, we certainly wish Lauryn Hill the best. She's one of the greatest, one of our GOATs, one of the greatest MCs, I believe, one of the greatest hip-hop MCs, female, male, of anyone. She is one of the greats, and so I give her that respect and honor. I wish her all the best, and we'll, be thinking of her and hoping that her remaining shows will be wonderful for both her and her fans. Okay, so that's my tidbit on Miss Lauryn Hill. Okay, now I want to get to, this is not a hip-hop topic or per se culture. Well, it could be culture because Kim Kardashian is a part of our popular culture and has been, she and her family, for a long time. What interested me about this story is because of Miss Kardashian's business savvy. Like, I've just, I'm always amazed at how people continue to kind of reinvent and get new deals and new opportunities for their businesses, and particularly because Kim Kardashian has the underwear brand called Skims. I think it was previously for women. However, she's really branched off with Skims and is now partnering with, according to the Washington Post, that's my source, and I like to quote a source at least so you all know it's not for me. The NBA and Skims, Kim Kardashian's underwear brand, announced last month, actually, late last month, that they're agreeing to a multi-year partnership where Skims will become the official underwear partner of the NBA, the WNBA, and USA Basketball. Cha-ching! So that's just huge business for anyone, whether it's Kim Kardashian or anyone. And so Kim was quoted as saying, "I'm incredibly proud of Skim partnership with the NBA, as it is a reflection of Skim's growing influence on culture." Notice that word culture. You see how everything is all connected, right, to the culture. Okay, an NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, said in a statement that the partnership will be seen through future events, including the NBA All-Star and the NBA in-season tournament games. And so this deal, according to the Washington Post, comes on the heels of the October 26th launch of Skims Men's. So remember I mentioned that I know Skims as a woman as being undergarments for women, but they have since, expanded, right? As they should. And as, this is how businesses grow and continue to make money, expanded to men's underwear. And that would be, I guess that branch that will cater to athletes and men and women athletes alike. Okay. So that was just a bit of news on the business and the culture and Skims. Okay, so next topic. Congratulations to the historic hip-hop group, one of the best. And you all know, if you hear Fight the Power, if you hear 911 is a joke, if you hear, wow. So many great hip-hop songs that Public Enemy has given us. They are being honored with a nomination. So shout out to Chuck D and the entire group, Public Enemy, for their nomination 2024 in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And this is really huge. Hip-hop has had a really huge year. Just recently, Missy Elliott was the first woman rapper to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so now you have Public Enemy receiving a nomination to be in the 2024 class of the Songwriters Hall of Fame. It just seems like, Hip Hop 50, with this being the 50th year, hip hop is really receiving its due in a lot of very interesting and inspiring and impactful ways, as being known and being recognized as a part of no longer just urban culture, Black culture, no longer just American culture. Hip hop has become a global force and a global cultural means of expression and communication and business creation and everything. So anyway, that's my spiel on that. And shout out and congratulations to Public Enemy. And also congratulations to George Clinton. Other artists, Tracy Chapman and Timbaland, are also among the 2024 nominees for the Songwriters Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Public Enemy. Okay, so now I am I'm checking my topic list. How's everyone doing tonight? I hope you are doing well. All right, so let's go to my next topic, you all. Let's talk about rapper T.I. So T.I. is the founder of a new affordable housing complex. And he just cut the ribbon on this in Atlanta. According to Vibe magazine, T.I. is giving back to the city that crowned him King of the South with a new investment. The rapper, along with Atlanta Housing Chief Operating Officer Terry Lee and Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, cut the ribbon on a new affordable housing complex on the city's west side. And so the article goes on to quote, "When you listen to Tip's album, he shouts out all of the neighborhoods that are right around near this new affordable housing complex." This is mentioned by Mayor Dickens during the ceremony. It's called the Entrada West Side. It's set to be a 100% affordable housing community in which Atlanta Housing will support 25 permanent supportive housing units. It offers 43 residential units with a special focus on serving the community with 25 units designated for permanent supportive housing. That's PCH under Atlanta Housing's Home Flex Haven program. Additionally, the project includes commercial and retail space that will contribute to the economic growth of the community, including gardens to foster a sense of community and well-being. So again, the new multifamily development that TI has invested in is called the Entrada West Side. And I'm getting this news from Vibe magazine if you want to know more. Shout out to TI for doing some great and important work, because affordable housing really is an issue. It's one of these social justice issues that children and their parents and families are impacted by in Black and brown communities. So anyone who's contributing to really healing housing disparities in the Black community is doing really great work. Okay, so congrats to the city of Atlanta, the mayor, TI, and all the people that are playing a part in bringing that about. Okay, so that's some positive hip hop news. Okay, so now I want to go to, I'm just double checking on my topics. All right, so we are almost done, and thank you all for hanging with me. So my next topic, so this is, hip hop and Me Too, or rather hip hop and the Me Too movement. I think that's hashtag Me Too. And you all know that the Me Too signifies a movement in recent years that has related to survivors of sexual assault, sexual violence coming forward to tell their stories, to gain justice, to bring attention and awareness to these issues that have long been very taboo to discuss, particularly in the entertainment industry, in Hollywood, and really among most industries. It's just something that has typically been something that has been in a lot of ways swept under the rug. However, in recent years, there has really been an outcry for more accountability and awareness to these issues related to sexual assault and sexual violence. And so when it comes to hip hop, you all know that there have been, I'm not going to mention any names. I just decided I don't want to do that tonight. I want to keep it as positive as I can, but also keep it informative and keep the dialogue going on some of these important topics, because I am a member of the hip hop generation. I'm an educator, and these are among the issues that I do care about and have concern about. So thegrio.com, and you all know the Griot, they are always featuring culture news and various news and information that pertains to the community, including the entertainment industry. And so there's a new op-ed piece titled "Cassie's Revelation Should Be the Beginning of the Me Too Movement for Hip Hop." So that's as much as I'm going to mention in terms of names. So basically the article discusses the different cases that have come about, and how, the author feels that, it's hip hop culture, hip hop's turn to kind of look at some of these issues and how people who have allegations on these things are wanting to be heard or wanting to put their stories out. And so if you've noticed that there have been many cases come out in the last week or so, it's due to an act called the Adult Survivors Act, which was signed into law by New York Governor Kathy Hochul last year and provided people over the age of 18 a one-year window to file a civil lawsuit against their accused abuser for any type of sexual assault, regardless of when the assault occurred. And the window in which that they could file under that act closed on Thanksgiving Day, which was November 23rd. So if you're wondering why there's been just so many, kind of suits just stacked and stacked, right? That really involve people in various industry, whether it's entertainment, whether it's music, whether it's film, or maybe they're in politics and things like that. It's because the people filing these cases, these suits, were trying to get that, that suit in, that claim, before it closed on November 23rd. And so according to the op-ed piece, the author on the griot states, we've spent the entirety of this year celebrating the 50th anniversary of the birth of hip hop, yet there have been very few conversations about the way hip hop itself and male hip hop artists have treated women who perform in the genre and those affiliated with it in one capacity or the other. Okay, so then it begins to mention direct names of people, which I'm not going to go into, but I think it's an interesting discussion. And so I'm going to ask you, my listeners and or my viewers, what do you think about hip hop and the hashtag Me Too movement? Do you think that hip hop, people in the culture, need to do more to bring awareness to sexual violence, sexual assault, as it pertains to people who are creators in this industry, people who somehow work in the industry, whether they're artists, whether they're producers, whether they are behind the scenes, in front of the camera? Like, does hip hop culture need to do more to create a dialogue and a way for people to, if nothing else, be able to exchange their thoughts in a heartfelt and respectful manner about these issues? Because, quite frankly, the younger generations are watching. So if hip hop has turned 50, right? People who are 50 years old have kids and grandkids, right? As of now, hey, some of them might even have great grandkids. Whatever it is that we do in our generation, and those even before me and before my friends and my network, whatever the elders do, there are always younger people who are watching and looking and learning from your lead and learning from what you demonstrate, right? So if what we're demonstrating and what we're communicating is not for the overall health of the community and the culture, whether it's how we treat each other, how we communicate with each other, how we respect or disrespect each other, and this is, there should be no, in other words, this isn't just to women. I mean, there have been men who've been disrespected. There have been men who have been probably, harassed, or who have had things happen to them as well. So this is across the board. Like, how can we show to one another that while, yes, we love and represent hip hop, we also want to hold hip hop accountable? I want to shout out the great hip hop scholar, Dr. Joan Morgan, someone I admire, and I consider her a mentor from afar, because Dr. Joan Morgan's book, and let me just pull this up for a moment. I'm going to type in Joan Morgan. Joan Morgan coined the phrase hip hop feminism, right? So Joan Morgan's book, her notable book, When Chicken Heads Come Home to Roost, was a memoir, but a very close look. When Chicken Heads Come Home to Roost, a hip hop feminist breaks it down. Dr. Joan Morgan is one of those hip hop scholars and members of our good hip hop culture that have been a voice and an activist and a teacher and healer in saying, hip hop, we love you, hip hop, but we also want to hold you accountable for the things that you do that are not in alignment, right, with those founding principles of hip hop, and including how hip hop treats its women, how hip hop treats, the people that are a part of this culture in general, in terms of the biases, or in terms of the things that we may say and do that may hinder our progress and hinder us from having those healthy relationships, healthy interactions, and positive, healthy communications. In other words, how can hip hop remain, toxic free, toxicity free, right? So anyway, I'm not laughing, but I'm just trying to think of other words and other phrases that can say, hey, do we need to hold hip hop accountable? In regard to the Me Too movement, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the recent, cases that have come about? How things are being handled? Do we feel that we have a voice in hip hop culture to discuss difficult things? Or is it just, business as usual, partying and going on about our way because we don't want to call out attention to certain issues, challenges, and problems? So I'll just leave that there without, really going into all the ins and outs. You all can read about it. Again, this is a Griot op-ed, but there are many, many more articles and videos and resources that are talking about this topic. And I'm just putting the questions out there to say, hey, what do we do in hip hop culture? What is it that's upon us to do? Okay, so that brings me to the very last item for my podcast tonight on That's Code. And this is the inspirational quotes of the week, the quotes that I found to be most inspiring, and you can let me know what you think. So there's 4 of them that I thought were really great, and I posted some of these. I posted a few of these, I know I did. So the first one is, one day you will be staring at the blessing you always prayed for. Let's pause. One day you will be staring at the blessing you always prayed for. I love that. I think that's so positive. All right. The next quote that I really, really enjoyed this week: when you realize the real luxuries in life are time, slow mornings, and the freedom to choose whatever you want to do. I just kind of take that in. I'm like, time. Yes, time. Now the slow mornings part, I'm not a slow morning person. When I'm up, I'm up. When it's time to get up and time to go and take care of business, I'm up. So I would say in that regard, I'm probably more of a morning person than a night person. But I understand the whole time and freedom to choose what you want to do. Okay, the next quote is, things to be grateful for: what left, what stayed, what's on the way. I think that's very positive. Okay, and lastly, I really like this one. Okay, this was more of like it felt like it was more of a New Year quote, but it's relevant because we're almost there. We're heading there. Congratulations, you passed. Congratulations, you're hired. Congratulations, you're approved. Congratulations, you're accepted. Congratulations, you're promoted. All in 2024, claim it. I love that. But you know what? That's any time, because that can be now. We're still in 2023. Claim it. Congratulations, you passed. You got whatever it is you wanted, that you've been hoping for. Congrats. And doesn't it always feel good when someone says congratulations to you? You can just kind of feel the vibration of that. It just feels good. And so go ahead and say congratulations to yourself for whatever it is you want to congratulate yourself on, and call in whatever that opportunity and that blessing is. First one, I think. Okay, cool. All right, so you all, I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat my YouTube channel, and it's youtube.com. DuEwa World. So I'm going to leave this live up here for a little while, but then it's going to be snatched off, and I'll probably put a clip or 2 of it, but it's going to go to my YouTube. Thank you so much, you all, for joining me for another episode, session, or edition of That's Code, my culture podcast. I am Dr. DuEwa, or DuEwa Frazier. Hope you'll follow me here on Instagram. And I hope to be in touch with you. Feel free to comment on any of these topics that I talked about, or even add some other topics that you care about, and maybe we can chop it up on those sometime in the future. Okay, well, you all have a blessed night and have a wonderful, safe weekend, and hope to see you again.